to readers. And most of your readers have 4 key questions. Why did you do the study? What did you do? What have you found? And how does a study advance the research field? And you should ensure that the structure of your manuscript is done in a way to answer the key questions of the readers. And this is the purpose of your manuscript. So, and this leads to the IMRED structure of your manuscripts, that is introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And now we will go through the key sections of your manuscripts. So, starting with the introduction. In the introduction, you highlight why does your research need to be done, right? So, recommendation is to start off broad and then narrowly guide your readers to the specific aims of your study. And the benefit of doing this is you are trying to capture a broader audience to attract them about your research as an author, and that would lead to more impact. So you start with introducing your topic, your research topic, right? So, and here you should be mindful how broad your audience is. So if you target a worldwide audience, you should introduce your research topic and your study from the international perspective. And if you target a more specialized audience, you should you can introduce your topic more focused. So, and please keep in mind, if you target a broad audience, your readers may not be familiar with the topic. So then you should introduce the concept more broadly and more generally. And after introducing your topic, you should tell your readers what is known about the topic. And this is, in fact, the literature review, right? And the majority of the introduction. And here you demonstrate or you have the chance to demonstrate your expertise and knowledge. And with this, you can establish confidence and greater trust in your work. And after this, you should describe the key your key question here. So what is not known? You should clearly describe the problem that you are trying to solve. And so here you highlight the knowledge gap, you identify the research problem, and what is this? This is the motivation. So you're motivating your readers to take a deeper look into your investigation, into your study, right? And to read your article. So, and this subsection here, what is not known, leads to the specific to the specific aims of your study. So, the specific aims should directly be trying to answer, or in the best way, to solve the problem highlighted in the what is not known section. All right, so the next section is the methodology. So here you should highlight what did you do. So write clearly and concisely so that someone can follow how you did your research and can reproduce this. You have to emphasize what you have done. Why is this important? Because researchers and readers in your field may want to reproduce and replicate your findings, right? And this would create confidence, or because of this, you should create confidence in your methodology. So help readers to believe, to trust your findings, which they would like to build upon then, right? Also, this section is especially relevant for the peer review process. So for your peer reviewers looking through your submission. So it is very important to have transparency and fairness in the methods section. Why? Because reviewers will evaluate this section very carefully. And if they find flaws in techniques that could invalidate your data and hence invalidate your results, this could lead to a reject. And this is what you don't want. Okay, so what you should describe in the methodology. So you should describe who or what was used in the study, samples or participants, materials, etc. You should describe how you did your study, right? Describe special techniques you applied, describe specific conditions, controls, etc. And finally, you should describe how you analyzed your data, which kind of software, which quantification methods or tests you did. And if you are unsure how to describe the statistics, you can also consult an expert and asking them to help you to write or to describe your statistical tests that you have done. All right, and after this, now the results section. So here you highlight what you have done. And again, please present the results clearly and carefully. Highlight what you have found. Important here is to keep a logical presentation of your idea. So what does that mean? It may not be chronologically how these results were identified, how your results were identified during your study, but the logical way to present them to the readers, especially to readers who are not yet familiar with what the research study all is. So you should start with the initial observation. So here you should try to attract interest and what you have been able to find. And then you should expand the initial observation. So you start a characterization, right? Look into this in another context. Try to understand it mechanistically, for example, right? And finally, you should let the readers know why is that useful? Why is your results, your result or your development going to be applicable? What is the practical applicability? This is particularly important for applied research journals rather than basic research journals, right? So here you should demonstrate the usefulness. So as an example, imagine you as an author has developed a new membrane for water treatment. So the initial observation here, you start with how was that membrane fabricated? And then you expand the initial observation. So you need to describe the physical and chemical characteristics of the membrane under different conditions, right? Temperature, pressure, etc. And finally, you should demonstrate the efficacy in removing particulates or contamination, right? Demonstrate the usefulness and the value of your development and your finding. All right. So, and then the last section is the discussion, right? So in the discussion, you highlight how does your study contribute to the field? How does your findings advance the field? And the discussion is like the opposite of the introduction, right? So in the introduction, we started off broadly and narrowly guide your readers to the specific aims. Here is the opposite, right? You emphasize how the specific study is going to be of interest to the broad audience that you capture, and you you start with a summary, what you find, what you have found. So summary, research problem, briefly describe the study design, and then summarize your key findings. So, and then you start the interpretation of your findings. So you discuss the results here. And if the results were not what you were expecting, this is where you can provide insights or speculations as to what happened or what you could have done differently. And this could be real fun, right? Speculating. So, um, also, please describe any limitations very carefully. It is very important to mention limitations of your study or during your limitations that you were faced with during your study. And what you should also keep in mind is you should also present negative results or unexpected results. This is also very important. Avoid what we call a selected reporting bias, right? So do not leave out negative results and present all results. So you should never leave out negative or unexpected results. All right, and then finally, the main conclusion of your of the discussion or of your study. So conclusions, it depends on the journal. Sometimes its conclusion is a different and an extra section. Sometimes you can put the conclusion into the discussion, and then the header would be a discussion and conclusion, right? The chapter. And it depends. And yeah, here in the conclusions, you should emphasize the value of your study for specific applications, right? Or for a specific audience, like academics, policymakers, educators, etc. Highlight why the study is useful. And keyword here is also call to action. So motivate your readers to put the information, the new information that you have found into action, right? This is important for your reputation. All right, so here, this is the overall logical structure, kind of a recap, what I've just said. So this is what we call an hourglass approach here. We start broadly with the introduction, narrowly guide the readers. Then we have the methods, objectives, the results. And then during the discussion, you again broaden your perspective, right? To the you expand your perspectives to the broad audience. And in every section, in each section, please take the reader's perspective, right? This is very important when you are preparing and drafting your manuscript. Take the reader's perspective. Every sentence, is this really useful, right? Or is this blah blah? Is this really useful information? So, and do not forget, your ideas are complex, right? And what makes you an effective communicator is clearly explaining complex ideas to your reader in a concise way, right? All right. So this is another recap slide, but it also includes what comes next. So we have, I talked you through the most important sections, introductions, methods, results, and discussions, as well as conclusions. But of course, your manuscript has also a title, an abstract, keywords, references, acknowledgements, and maybe supplementary information, right? And title and abstracts are equally important. And I will talk you through title and abstracts and my ideas about title and abstracts in a second. And acknowledgements might be also important. My tip here, my advice is acknowledge anyone who provided intellectual assistance, technical help, or special equipment or material, right? Good. So, yeah, as I said, titles are equally important. So why? Because the people going online to their research engines of interest, they see a list of titles, right? And if your title um, is not grabbed, it will be skipped. Your article will be skipped, will be not recognized, right? So your title needs to get the reader's attention. So keep the title as short as possible and to the point. It must reflect the content of your paper. So your title, this is what I think at least, should include what's important, right? The key message, your key findings. And also should include some keywords for indexing. Why? Because scholarly databases, they use both titles as well as keywords for their keywords databases. And as I said, keep your title as concise and precise as possible. What you should avoid is questions in the title. Sometimes authors think, oh, I have to create a clever title, right? So, but keep in mind, clever titles are only clever for the author, but mostly confusing for the rest of the world, right? So communicate your key message as efficiently and effectively as possible. Questions don't do that. Yeah. Sometimes being too vague, right? Or avoid this. Sometimes a title starts with an investigation of or a characterization of. So yeah, we know you're going to publish or you have published a research article, right? We know something was investigated, right? So be more specific. And also abbreviation acronyms, right? Keep in mind your audience. If you target a broad audience, this audience may not be familiar with specific acronyms, right? For specialized journals and specialized target audience, abbreviations may be okay. So a nice strategy to create your title is, or to write an effective title is, emphasize what is important. So for example, uh, a, um, a variable was measured, right? Then what was measured? What is the key outcome? And finally, the sample, right? From where the outcome comes from. All right, abstracts. So the believe it or not, the first thing, or maybe the only thing, your readers read is the abstract. Why? There are too many papers. Your readers don't have enough time. Is it as simple as that, right? So most researchers only skim through the abstracts of manuscripts. So, and in your abstract, you have to emphasize why is your topic important, right? Why is it significant, and for whom? Um, Also describe the relevancy of your research. My advice is 300 words max for an abstract, right? A single paragraph, 100 to 300 words, and that's enough. So, yeah, as I said, the first impression of your paper is in the abstract, and then the author, the reader will decide to look into the article or not, right? So, you should include a summary of why did the study need to be done, what did you do, what did you find, and how will the study advance the field? Why is it, what is the value of your study? And most of the abstract should focus on your key findings, right? So what did you find? And for the rest, for the other parts, 1 or 2 sentences only. Don't try to mix or to introduce the topic in the abstract. The abstract should be a summary of your article, nothing more. Okay, so the next part here is advice how to draft your text, right? So my advice is keep the text precise and concise as possible, right? No blah blah, no irrelevant information. Keep in mind the purpose of scientific writing. Avoid language that is emotional or flowery. Avoid redundant language. And yeah, as I said, right, do not integrate common phrases that do not have any added value, right? Take the reader's perspective. Do not create your own acronyms, and please use professional language, right? So, potential pitfalls that I have seen in manuscripts that came on my desk. So, often the format is not appropriate to facilitate the review, right? So no line numbers, no spacing between sections, no page numbers, etc. Corresponding author is not highlighted. This is also a no-go. The author email address cannot be verified. What should we do as a publisher? The abstract is not telling the story of the whole article, right? In the introduction, we often see an enumeration of too many references, and citing information is packed, right? Like 20 to 30 or so. This is not reasonable, right? It's not reasonable that all citations make identical statements, right? Discussion of results is missing. Grammar and orthographic rules mistakes, self-citations is also a problem, right? And also, yeah, ethics, ethical issues, plagiarism. Please do not take or simply copy and paste text from other sources, right? This would lead to a desk reject. I promise you. I assure you. Ensure that your research goal is clearly described, right? And figures, yeah, we will come to figures in a minute. Here are some examples, real-world examples, right? Odd phrases. So I have seen these phrases in manuscripts. So, and this is not good, right? Okay. So yeah, data presentation, short. So a picture, this is the motto, right, of this section. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So display items, so figures, tables, data plots, maps, etc., right, are often the quickest way to communicate large amounts of complex information that would be complicated to explain in the text. So my advice, ensure your display items can stand alone, right? Present well-designed display items. It is worth the effort, right? Researchers would like to look at your display item, your figure or a table without reading it, the text, right? And well-designed display items can also help to attract readers and hold their interest to your work. And readers may be more likely to trust your result and your interpretation of your results. Excuse me. So, common mistake here is to restate much of the data from a table in the text of the manuscripts, right? You should use the text to summarize what the reader will find in the table or in the figure, or mention one or two of the most important data points. So what is the key message of your figure, of your table? What is the take-home message, the one thing that people should remember? Right, and it is usually much easier to read data in a table than in a text. Okay, so for figures and tables, right, please make sure that your legend is clear and concise, as well as the caption. Access labels, please include access labels, clear units, labels as well is very important, and all elements found in the figure must be identified in the caption, right? And similarly for tables, ensure a clear and concise legend and caption. Divide your data into categories for clarity, and ensure sufficient spacing around columns and rows. Okay, if you have complex figures or tables, you may also write the results in subsections, right? So this is up to you. Most important here is one information at a time. Don't overwhelm your readers with information, right? It is easier for readers to understand complex information. And don't forget, it is complex information for your readers. When complex information is presented one bit at a time, right? Avoid information overload. Okay, supplementary information. Yes, we encourage you to add supplementary information. It could add dimension. Please check the journal-specific submission guidelines to get an idea how to submit your supplementary information. And each journal, or at least each Nature journal, has journal-specific submission guidelines available on the journal's website. Right, here are two examples. And yeah, before you submit and before you draft your manuscript, please look through the submission guidelines. You will find also templates, LaTeX, non-LaTeX templates, how to format your manuscripts, right? So as an appetizer for the upcoming webinars, just one quick slide about using AI and large language models. So our philosophy is that large language models do not currently satisfy our authorship criteria. Why not? Because attribution of authorship carries with it accountability of the work, which cannot be applied to large language models, right? And yeah, also just an appetizer for the next webinars, for the upcoming webinars, impact. Impact in your research field is not equal to the impact factor of the journal, right? Of a journal. So you should not necessarily try to submit your work to a high impact factor journal, right? Remember, impact is your impact and influence in the field. All right, so that was pretty much it. So I will be back here in the webinar series in the final webinar when we will talk about real-world examples of accepted and rejected submissions. So we will have plenty of time there to discuss specific examples or answer your questions. Yeah, and with this, don't forget your goal is not only to be published, but also to be widely read in your field. And with this, I stop here. So thank you very much. And back to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas.